When I was preparing for this talk, I was wondering what I should talk about in front of all of you. Should I talk about how I started my business at 20 and I scaled to 7 figures per year? Or should I talk about how I grew my business from 0 to 30 properties in this short time span, while most operators went from 0 to 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. But then I realized that's not what you guys paid for. You guys don't give a fuck about my journey. You guys paid for the value that I provide within the lessons that I learned throughout my journey that can fast track your own venture. And so in this talk, I wanted to share with you guys the biggest things that I learned that built me the best business that I could ever ask for. And not only that, but the greatest version of myself thus far. And I saved the best lesson for last, so make sure you guys listen up to the very end. Okay, so when we were about 5 properties in, we met this guy. Let's call him Bob for the sake of this presentation. And Bob here, just a little bit of context, he was about 50 years old. Bob was the director of a property management firm that we worked with at the time. You see, we connected with Bob and we took him out for drinks one time. And I wanted to share with you guys a conversation that we had with Bob when we took him out for drinks. So Bob asked us, who's talking to the guests? And to that we answered with, whoever is available at the time the messages come through. Bob looked at us and said, you guys might as well flip a coin to the side. You guys are reacting instead of operating. And so the first piece of business advice I have to give to you all is always split your roles and responsibilities. So a lot of you guys are in a partnership. Raise your hand now if you're in a partnership with equal shareholders. Okay, good. And now when you look at your partner, can you tell me exactly what they do for the business that you do not do? Because if you share the same responsibilities, you are not being as efficient as you think. The less shoes you wear, the faster you can run. I made this saying up in my head, and it doesn't really make sense literally, I realize that now, but it definitely metaphorically, and when applied to business, this saying definitely makes sense. And this saying makes sense because when everyone is trying to do something, nobody ends up really doing anything well. And this applies to sole-directed businesses too. Once you recruit staff and you build out your team, do you go ahead and step on their shoes and still tell them what to do and still do the role that they're doing? No, you shouldn't. Because if you had hired someone to do a role and you are still actively doing that role yourself, well, guess what? You haven't bought back any of your time. You've actually doubled your efforts and slowed down the growth of your business. And so I want to leave you guys with 2 acronyms that Bob taught us. LIWM and LIWY. And it's funny looking back on it now because when Bob said this to us, me and Terrence actually laughed because we thought it was some sort of dad joke or like a senior slang that we didn't know of. But over time, these 2 acronyms have become so deeply embedded in how we operate and how we communicate that we still use these 2 acronyms to this day, almost instinctively. So LIWM stands for Leave It With Me, and LIWY stands for Leave It With You. Now, it sounds simple, but the clarity that this creates is game-changing because it's no longer who's doing what, or there's no double handling. Every role, every responsibility, and every task is either mine or yours, and that's it. So the next time you're in a team discussion or you're dealing with an issue, ask yourself, is this an LIWM issue or LIWY issue? And whether you're in a partnership or you're running solo with a team behind you, the core principles still stand. Split your roles and responsibilities. Because when everyone knows what they're responsible for getting done, and likewise what they're not responsible for getting done, shit gets done faster. Okay, and this ties into my next lesson. Your job as the founder is not to do everything, it's to build the machine that lets you do nothing. Do you think I could have built this business if I was still managing my cleaners, or if I was still texting guests, or if I was still being woken up at 2 a.m. because some dumbass missed their check-in time? Hell no, because at the start, sure. At the start, of course. But if you're doing the same thing at 10 properties as you were at 2 properties, guess what? You haven't built a business. You've built yourself a job. And I know for the most of you anyways, that you didn't come here to build yourself a job. You guys came here to build yourself a better future because you wanted more with your life. You want to build freedom, build a better future, and have more control over your life so that you can take a family vacation whenever you want, or you can go work whenever you want, or you can go shopping on a random Tuesday. So how can we achieve this? Let's say you start a lawnmower business, and at the start you may be taking calls manually, or you may be taking payments manually. Let's say fast forward a year, if you are still doing those things, that is pushing the lawnmower, and you're still sending texts replying to customers every day, and you're still taking payments and sending invoices manually, then you actually haven't built a scalable system. You've built yourself a job. With that last year, you instead hired staff or implemented an online booking system that integrates straight into your staff's calendar. Now you've automated payment collection methods as well. Now you have a scalable system, and now you can focus on building your clientele and building your team. Those of you that know me know that I get a huge hard-on for systems and processes. This is my bread and butter in business because I'm always looking for something to streamline my operations and make my processes more efficient. Because frankly, the market doesn't care how much effort you put in. The market only gives a fuck about results, the output. So if you're wondering why you feel stuck or you feel burnt out, ask yourself, what systems can I implement into my business and processes that will alleviate the pain points of my venture moving forward? Because if you are still measuring success based on how busy you are, you've got it all backwards. The most successful people I know are not drowning in everyday tasks. Their head is calm and clear, and they're always thinking about the next steps to actually move the needle forward. Overall, freedom doesn't come from doing more, it comes from building better. So we have two crucial business principles so far. The first one is split your roles and responsibilities, and the second is building a business means building systems. And so the third lesson I have for you guys is stop stressing so much. By the questions that we get asked by some of you guys, I know this applies to a good portion of the people standing in this room. At times, you're going to feel stress. You're going to feel pressure, and you're going to feel chaos. That is all part of the game and an expectation of the journey. Because if you want to build something that is worthwhile and valuable, and you want to change the trajectory of your life for the better, guess what? Discomfort is a built-in requirement, because growth only happens through discomfort. And the faster that you can accept that, the faster you can progress. Now, I'm not saying to ignore stress. I'm saying to learn how to better manage it and embrace it. Because the amount of stress that you can tolerate is directly linked with how far you'll go. But if you can stay composed under pressure, then you're already ahead of those who can't. I remember when I was furnishing my first property, I couldn't even sleep. The listing wasn't even live yet, and I was overthinking every single thing. And what kept me up at night was I was thinking about the matching furniture set. I thought it would look too tacky and I wouldn't get any bookings. And that was what was keeping me up at night. And looking back at it now, it's funny because none of that mattered. Those early fears, the ones that feel so massive in the moment, they don't matter 2 weeks from now or a week from now or even a day from now. And so that leads me to my next point. If it's not something you care about in 2 weeks, then it's not worth your time today. Don't give small problems premium real estate in your mind. And I learned something else that was also important. If you can solve a problem with money, it's not really a problem, it's just another invoice. The worst situations and the worst issues in business is not financial. It's actually mental. Being overwhelmed or being stressed or anxious, feeling emotionally reactive and unstable. That's what kills momentum. So next time you're in a stressful situation and you don't know what to do, really ask yourself, what is within my control right now? Because this kind of shift in thinking changes everything, because it puts you back in control. And that's ultimately how you win, not by being the most stressed, but by being the most composed. So the third principle is this: stop stressing so much, control your mind, and you'll control your business. Okay, the final lesson I have to share with you guys is something that I wish someone told me a lot earlier in my journey. It's one of the reasons that I believe some businesses grow way faster than others. And that is that speed compounds. Speed in decisions beats slow indecision every single time. Most people don't realize this, but indecision is still a decision, and it's often the worst one that you can take. Because business is just a series of choices, some small and some big. And I learned that the more that you wait to make those choices, the more momentum that you kill. Too many people get stuck between option A and B. They think until they end up doing nothing. Because doing nothing feels easier and is safer than choosing the wrong option. But let's say option A is 10% better than option B. If option B gets you moving now, whereas option A takes you weeks to decide, then option B was the better decision because it put you in motion. And motion is what creates momentum. So the faster that you can make decisions, the faster you can learn how to adapt and learn how to grow. Because every outcome gives you data and it gives you lessons. So when you make decisions faster, you learn faster, you build faster, and you grow faster. So here's what I want you to take away from all this. Split your roles, build valuable systems, don't let stress own you, and move fast. Make decisions quickly. Take action. Because a lot of you guys didn't join this program to stay stuck where you are now. You came here because you wanted more control. You wanted to build a better life. You wanted to have more freedom. And that only happens if you put in the work.